Good morning, fourth grade. This is Math Lesson 7. Today's Lesson 7 objective is you will be able to read and write whole numbers through 999 using words. Our first example we're looking at today is example 1. So it says, use words to write the number 44. I also put a little note here at the bottom. It says, please use page 40 to help you spell the words. So in page 40 in your math book, you'll see that there's the spelling for the words. It'll break it down. So how to spell, 1 to 10, 0 to 10, 11 to 20, then 20, 30, 40, on counting by 10. So that's on page 40 in your book. So spelling does count when we are writing our words out. So our first example says use words to write the number 44. So when I look on page 40, I see how to spell 40 is F-O-R-T-Y. And also when we do this fourth grade, we're also going to put a hyphen, this little dash between. It's not called a dash, it's called put a hyphen between it. And then we'll spell 4. So 44. Again, spelling does count when we are writing our digits in in words. Okay, our next example, example 2. Example 2 says, use words to write the number 313. Again, fourth grade, page 40 will be your best friend when knowing what to spell. Okay, so 300. So I'm looking on page 40, so I'm going to spell it as 3 T-H-R-E-E, and then I'm going to spell 13. Oh, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I forgot to spell 100, so 300, and then 13. Again, I'm using page 40 just in case I need remembering how to spell the number. So this is how I would write 313. Our next example is example 3. It says use words to write the number 705. Again, you know what page at this time, fourth grade, to look at to help us spell it. So I know my first digit in the hundreds is 7, so I'm going to spell 7, then 100, and then my last, so there's nothing here in my tens column, so I just have 705. Okay, our next example is example 4. Example 4 says, use digits to write the number 608. Now, this is different from what we're doing. Before, we were given the digits, and we were spelling out, writing out our number. But now it's flipped. They've given us it in words, and now we're going to write our digit out. So I'm told it's 6. So my first digit is going to be 6, and then 100. Okay? And I noticed I don't have anything in my tens. It's not saying 628. I just have 608. So 600, nothing in my tens, 8. So this is how we would write the digit, 608. Okay, let's look at another example, example 5. Example 5 says, which of these two numbers is greater, 546 or 564? Well, when I'm first given my numbers to compare, fourth grade, I'm first going to my hundreds column, or my hundreds spot, and I see in both hundreds here, I have a 5. So looking at the hundreds, they're both equal here. But then I'm going to go to my tens column, and I see a 4 in the tens column here, which represents 40, and then I have 6 in my tens column, which represents 60. Well, I tell myself, well, which is bigger, 4 or 6? Well, seeing as that in the hundreds they're both the same, and I go to the tens, so I'm looking at the 4 and the 6, so I'm saying 6 is greater, so 564 is greater. So another way we could write, we know that this is greater, is if when we get to it, it'll be 546 is less than 564. But 564 is greater. Okay, let's look at another example. It says arrange these numbers in order from least to greatest. So the number that's the smallest to the number that's the biggest. So least to greatest. So I'm looking at my numbers. So I have 36, 254, 105, and 90. Well, I know my biggest number is, I'm looking at first is my hundreds, and I say I have a 2 in the hundreds column here and a 1 in the hundreds column here. So right away I know that 254 is the biggest. And then I have 105. So I know that this one is greater. But remember, we're asked to put it from least to greatest. So I'm not putting these down in the order yet, but I'm just trying to find out which ones, again, is the least. So I know that 254 is the biggest, then 105. So now I have 36 and 90. Well, I have a 3 in my tens column, or my tens place, and I have 9 in my tens place. So I know that 90 is going to be bigger than 36. So if I'm writing these numbers out, 36 would be the smallest, 90 would be the second, then 105, and 254. So again, we went from the least, the smallest, to the greatest. So this, we went least to greatest. Let's look at some of our problems in our homework for today. So I'm going to go ahead and flip to number 11. And I'm told in my example in number 11 that it says use words to write each number. Well, we practiced that today in our lesson, using words to write each number. So the number that they've given us for number 11 is 301. And I'm going to do number 12 with you as well. They gave us 320. Again, I know that I need to flip back to page 40 to know how to spell my numbers of 301 and 320. So I go back to page 40 and I see that to spell 3 is 3. And then this is 3 is in the hundreds column, so I have 300. Now I have nothing in my tens column, so it's just 300, and how many ones is left? 1. So 301 for number 11. Then I look at number 12. It says I have 320. Again, I'm using page 40 to help me. I'm going to write this a little bit further down here, just so you can see 4th grade. So then I have, again, 300. So we kind of did this in number 11. So 300. Now notice we have now a digit in our tens place. So I have 2 there. So I have 20. So 2 tens is 20. So 320. I'm looking back at page 40 to know how to spell 320. So again, I'm just looking back. If I'm thinking, oh, I forgot how to spell it, that's okay. Page 40 is there to help me. So I have 320. Now, in this one, I don't have anything in my ones place. So I'm just leaving it now, because since there is nothing in my ones place, I'm just going to leave it as 320. Okay, let's look at another example. Let's look at number 30. Number 30 gives us, the table shows the lengths so our table, it's also in your book, but I just wrote it here for you. The table shows the lengths of 3 rivers in North America. List the rivers in order from the longest to shortest. So we're listing the numbers, the length, so that's these numbers on this side. We're listing these numbers from largest to shortest. Okay? So I'm looking at my lengths here, and I'm looking at which one is the biggest. Well, I have both, and actually all 3 of my numbers, I have 700 in my hundreds place. So I have a 7 here, a 7 here, a 7 here. So I'm then going to go to my tens to see what the next greatest number is. So I see that there's a 2 in my tens here, a 3 in my tens here, and a 2 in my tens here. Well, I know that 3, which 3 represents 30, because there's 3 tens, so 30 is greater than both 20. So I know that green is the largest river. Well, I'm going to go ahead and cross this out, 4th grade, because I don't want to get confused because I already used that one. Now I'm left with 2 more rivers. So I have Alabama, and I have Kuskokwim River. So it's Kuskokwim River in Alabama. So again, I know that there's both 20s and both 10s columns. Now I'm going to my ones. Which is greater, 9 or 4? Well, I know that 9 is greater than 4, so my next river is going to be Alabama. And so my last one, since I've used that one, so the shortest river is Kuskokwim River. So again, in our lesson for today, 4th grade, the biggest thing we looked at is you will be able to read and write whole numbers through 999 using words. So we gave an example of numbers. So we'll look at an example again just to recap our lesson for today. So if I have the number 45, if I want to write that in words, I would write it as 4T, remember our hyphen, and 5. If I want to write the number 96 in words, again, I'm going to look back in my book on page 40, but I know that 96 in digits, writing it in our number digits, would be 96, so 96. And we also looked at today looking at what if we rearrange numbers. So if I'm given the numbers 26, 50, and 2, if I'm told to put them in order from least, so my smallest to biggest, I know that that would be 2, 26, and 50.